Since the final scene of Return of the Jedi, fans have wanted to see one thing: good writing. Well, then maybe two things: good writing and the original trilogy cast back together again on the big screen. Seems like we're not going to get either of those things in Disney Star Wars. Just the more news that comes out about these upcoming films, the less good we have to talk about. Because with Jon Favreau trying to do this Mandalorian Grogu movie, it sounds like part of what was hopeful in that was to bring together the original trilogy cast, even if it meant doing CGI and all of that kind of deepfake stuff that we've seen done already. But now they've run into a problem, or at least rumored to have run into an apparent problem, because Harrison Ford isn't interested. Who can blame Harrison Ford for not wanting to be interested? Harrison Ford was one of the ones who even petitioned to get himself killed off in Star Wars. He wanted to be done. He wanted to be gone. But even to not allow his likeness to be used, not even necessarily himself, maybe his voice would be used, but even that can be put back together. Now you might be wondering, where is this coming from? How did you come across this information? And the first place I saw this was reported by WDW Pro. Now I try to do my best to share where I'm getting my information from, and whether or not it's coming from my brain to your ears, or if I'm finding it from somewhere else. And they don't reveal their source in this video, so I can only take their word for it. But let's take a listen, and then we'll come back and I'll share some thoughts. I was editing this video and I realized this was a perfect place to let you know you can follow me on Twitter if you want to reach out through DMs there, or you can also email me at theforcefandom@gmail.com if you have any information, sources, or if you have questions, videos you want me to make. I'll listen to it all. Thanks.
And surprisingly, Harrison Ford, we are told, does not like whatever this plan is. They are already into filming. It was supposed to be CGI. So Ford's not really even needed, but he still has to sign off. And we're hearing word that he may not be a fan of the idea of putting the original characters together for some sort of CGI resurrection. I don't know if that has to do with the idea of bringing Leia back and what that would mean about Carrie Fisher's legacy, or, I don't know. None of that detail has been given to us, only that Harrison Ford may not be interested in making this happen in the way that Favreau had hoped.
At the end of this movie, Disney's going to be so desperate that we're just going to get Force ghosts of every late Star Wars actor, even if they weren't like a Jedi. Like, we're going to get Peter Mayhew. We're going to get, what's his name, who was R2. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's a great point, Spencer, because that leads into what I was just about to ask Jonas. So I don't know, you're reading my mind somehow. Jonas, I wonder if Disney now is apprehensive because of what's going on with the Cushing lawsuit.
Right. And we're not going to get into all of that, talking about Peter Cushing and his likeness that was used in Rogue One when Lucasfilm thought they had the rights, but apparently he had another agreement they didn't know about that might cause some issues. But it's been so long, and it's a whole weird scenario. If you want me to do a whole video breaking that down, let me know down in the comments below. I will. But I'm more intrigued about this, because if we're talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that has been moved up ahead of the Rey movie, which there's speculation about that now too, and that meant that they've started filming. There's a pretty good idea that Mark Hamill is going to be a part of this movie, even though he's not said so. Folks have looked into his travel schedule and where he is, and that they're filming now and all of that kind of stuff. But honestly, it comes back to this idea of either one, if they actually think this is what fans want now, I think they're missing the point. Maybe at the beginning of the sequel trilogy, this was something we desired. Maybe, but it feels like if it were to happen now, it's just a concession that they know they should have done it earlier. And it has no actual impact. Like, who is really going to go see this movie because they could see CGI original trilogy characters back together? It feels like it would be a reveal that they're not able to say on the lead up because they want it to be a surprise, but yet it's not going to be something that really, I think, is a payoff they really want. So then the question becomes, if that's been part of the story, possibly, or at least reportedly, part of the story up until now, does this mean rewrites? Does this mean delays? Does this mean the plan they had, or the plan Favreau had, which is maybe the one that we can sit back and kind of hope has his stuff together? We already know Dave Filoni doesn't. We know that when Kathleen Kennedy gets involved, stuff just falls apart. Well, and on that note, I do want to say, I appreciate a bunch of you who commented, even in disagreement of me in the recent video where I talked about how I think we should put more blame on Filoni. I was not hard enough on Kathleen Kennedy. I kind of let her off the hook, and that really wasn't my intention. My intention really was just, honestly, as someone who has hoped and enjoyed some of the things that Dave has done and hoped for things to improve, it kind of feels like I've been betrayed. Like I expect it from Kathleen Kennedy. But from Dave, it's like, come on. And that was where that video originated from. But all of you who were either some kind, some not so kind in the comments, being very clear that you still would hold Kathleen Kennedy the most to blame for all of this mess. I do agree with you. I think we also need to make sure we don't let Dave off the hook. That's just how I feel. If you didn't see that video, you can click the description below. Let's keep going. The hope has been that Favreau at least maybe can recapture some of what Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 was with this movie. But I'm even more skeptical now than I was before. I was hopeful for this movie. I was glad that this movie had jumped the Rey movie in terms of release timing. But if really this was part of the plan to try and win over audiences, we just need a good story. We need to have good, well-written characters. We need to be able to be pulled back into the Star Wars universe with something that's compelling. That doesn't necessarily even mean that you're going to have a box office success. I think there's many fans that have given up and won't show up. But what it does start to do is it starts to work towards something positive. You're not going to win people back with one home run movie. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. The only way it's going to even get closer to a place where some people are going to tune back into Star Wars is if you do it right, you do it well, accept the losses that are going to come, and know that you're building something to the future where then the next thing that you do right and do well, and you show you can do it again and again, and it's not just these one-off random things like 2 seasons of Mandalorian, 1 season of Andor, things like that, then you might have a shot. But this definitely isn't good, especially when we're hearing things like there isn't even a script yet for the Rey movie. And Stephen Knight has had many rewrites with Kathleen Kennedy, and she keeps giving him notes to go back and write again. That sounds horrible. I covered some of that in my recent video talking about the Rey movie, how it isn't really canceled, though everyone's trying to pretend like it is just for views, which is one thing. But I will say, as a result of some of your comments down in the comment section, I started watching Peaky Blinders because I'd never watched it. I'm like, I want to see what Stephen Knight is about. And honestly, the more that I've watched, I'm only like about maybe 5 episodes, 6 episodes into Peaky Blinders. Stephen Knight can write a good show. Maybe Stephen Knight knows what he's doing and this script has been good and now it just keeps getting messed up. I don't know. Who knows? We're not going to find out. But anyway, I would love to hear what you think down below. Would an original trilogy meetup in the Mando Grogu movie be something that excites you even a little bit? And if it does, I would love to hear why. Why would that be something you'd love to see? Because honestly, I'm over it. I don't really care. I don't care if you put original trilogy characters in this movie or not. I know Luke is probably reported to be a big part of it. And the only thing that would make me interested is if we get something with Luke off of this movie. But even then, there's so much work that has to be done before we can trust anything that's happening. So, it's just, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know anymore. We'll see what happens. If you want to check out where I did cover the Rey movie and talk about some of that information, you can click right here. Thanks for hanging out for a few minutes and chatting Star Wars. Love to see you in the comments down below. I'll be down there responding to your questions, comments, and maybe disagreements, because I've gotten a lot of those lately. Awesome. And if you're looking for something else, later this week, I'm going to be releasing a video looking at the difference between good and bad heroes, a comparison between Maverick and Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi. You won't want to miss that. So make sure you turn on those bells for notifications. Remember, the Force will be with you always.